This video is sponsored by the Seaport Hotel. When you visit, stay at Churchill's only full amenity hotel. Churchill stands on the shores of Hudson Bay, on the edge of the Arctic. It's commonly referred to as the polar bear capital of the world. Isolation is its trademark, as there are no roads to Churchill. The only way there is by rail or by airplane. Let's back up for a second. Getting to Churchill is a journey in itself, involving several modes of transport. I flew into Winnipeg and then transferred to a train because flying into Churchill is ridiculously expensive. Like $1,800 for a round trip expensive. So I am now on the train, traveling north. I have to go about 1,000 kilometers from Winnipeg to Churchill, which takes almost 2 days on the train. I don't know what I'm going to do to amuse myself. I've never been on a train for this long in my life, so that'll be a first. And there'll be nothing but the infamous landscape of Manitoba to stare at out the window, of farms and trees and flat land going on forever. This will be an interesting experience. It's pretty chill. I just really wish I brought more food because I completely overlooked spending 2 days and I brought no food with me onto the train. That was a horrible mistake. On the second morning, 46 hours after departing Winnipeg, the train finally arrived in Churchill. Welcome to Churchill, Manitoba. Behind me is Hudson Bay. Crashing on the beach right there. There's some waves. It's a balmy -3 with the wind chill feeling like -10. And I'm just getting a lay of the town, having a look around. I can see signs which are saying, don't walk this way, don't walk on the coast, there could be bears up there. So I'm just going to stay close to town. And this is pretty cool. It reminds me a little bit of Yellowknife, as I was there 5 years ago. One of the first things that you notice about Churchill are all these really beautiful murals. They were all painted for a project called Seawalls Churchill, Paint for a Purpose, and that purpose being protecting the oceans. This building behind me here with the Nunavut flag painted on it is where Nunavut residents can stay, and it helps them connect on their travels even further north into the Arctic. Polar bears make Churchill not like any other place I've visited before. You can't just walk anywhere you want, definitely not outside of town. Almost everyone drives around town because you always want to have a vehicle nearby in case there's a polar bear. Polar bears even show up in town sometimes, in which case a conservation officer chases it away or has to tranquilize it. During the Cold War era, the population peaked at 5,000 but now has dropped to only 800 or 900. Churchill has recently endured hard times when in spring 2017, flooding washed out the railway, and it took a year and a half for this vital lifeline to be repaired. Tourism is its life support, and Churchill maintains a delicate balance between protecting bears and providing livelihoods for locals. Behind me is one of Churchill's famous tundra buggies. Really high off the ground with these enormous tires. It's like a RV on monster truck wheels. This thing is enormous. It's like a house up there. Every night at precisely 10 p.m., a siren sounds. It marks the end of the polar bear patrol for the day and the voluntary nightly curfew. A beautiful sunrise greeted me on another cold and windy morning as I drove out of town to try and find bears. Why do so many polar bears come to Churchill? They have been on land since late June or early July, when the ice left the bay. It's now autumn and they are patiently waiting for the sea ice to return so they can hunt seals. The western coast of Hudson Bay is where the ice develops first, and that's why the bears end up here, waiting. So I've just seen my first polar bear, which was really exciting. I saw a bear down on the right side of the road, and then I knew that the road curved ahead, so I drove further down the road and then stopped and pulled over. And sure enough, the bear came out just where I thought it would. And I got some shots there, and then it walked down the road. And then the funniest thing it did was it started like checking out a one of those reflective road signs that marks a corner. And it was gnawing on this reflective marker, and then it stood up on its hind legs. That was amazing to see. And that's my first polar bear. Awesome. The ice is slowly starting to freeze. There's already more than there was a couple days ago. It's slowly starting to build up along the shallow bays and protected little parts of the coastline. So pretty soon those bears will be able to get out onto the sea ice. I think within a couple weeks, early November. Polar bears are the largest of the bear species and the largest predatory carnivore. Calorie-rich seals make up the majority of their diet, and the sea ice gives them a platform to do so. Sea ice loss is the #1 threat to polar bear survival. I reached out to the nonprofit Polar Bears International, but they didn't want to talk about polar bears on video. Also, every tour operator didn't respond, including the Churchill Northern Studies Center. Just as icy as the landscape. In the next video, I visit the abandoned Cold War era sites around Churchill. Wow.